people who, we also have a police department employee in Brian Williams, so, and it's not the same person.
Okay, everybody ready? Fine. First question. It's actually not a question. Just like you to introduce yourself to everybody. You get 30 seconds. So, Clark, why don't we start with you?
Well, first I'd like to thank the library for hosting this event, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming out that has shown up. And those that are viewing, I appreciate you viewing from home. My name is Clark Karolian. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I've been a resident of Hooksett for over 20 years. Have two grown sons that went through the Hooksett school system and played sports here in Hooksett. Some of you may know that I was a police commissioner here in Hooksett for 3 years. I began my civil service as a police officer in Manchester.
30 seconds.
After that, I worked for the U.S. Marshal Service. I was an investigator for Border Patrol and U.S. Customs, and I'm a licensed private investigator. I want to continue my service. The reason I threw my hat in the ring, if you will, for the at-large position is I wanted to continue my service not just for people in my district, but for the entire town of Hooksett and all the citizens therein.
That's about a minute. I'm going to give the other two a minute as well. Adam?
Good evening. Thank you for coming. My name is Adam Jennings, and I'm running against these two fine gentlemen here for this at-large seat. 15 years U.S. Army Special Forces Green Beret Medical Sergeant veteran. I have a master's degree in biotechnology, and I currently work as a field service engineer for a multinational biotech company. Currently, I serve on town council, the Parks Rec Committee, and I'm also a softball coach with my wife here in Hooksett. I'm married to my wife Tabitha, have 4 beautiful daughters. One of them is left in the room. The other 3 went upstairs. I may not have been born here in Hooksett, but as soon as I left active duty, this is where I came. I'm glad to be here, and I think I bring a fresh perspective to things in town. I don't think it's a detriment that I've just, been here a few years, and like your support. Thank you.
Okay. Tom, same question.
Good evening. My name is Tom Keach. I've been a resident since 1994. And I live on the Pinnacle with my wife, Lorraine. I had the opportunity to work as a Hooksett police officer for 11 years. Became part of the community. I have tried to integrate myself to give back to them. And I retired from the New Hampshire State Police after 23 years of law enforcement combined service. I hold a master's degree in public administration from UNH, and my undergraduate degree was from Southern New Hampshire University. The community has been great to me. It's offered me opportunities. It's put food on my plate, and it's my turn to give something back to the community.
Thank you. Okay, now the fun begins. In your opinion, what is the role of a town councilor? 2 minutes. The rest of the questions are 2 minutes. We'll start with you, Adam.
I believe the role of a town councilor is to be the voice of the voter. I think that we shouldn't be trying to legislate everything, but maintaining a free society. I think that Hooksett's a great place, and I think we should continue that. Jim alluded to earlier the side ordinance and some of the things we're trying to do to encourage more businesses to come to Hooksett. Let's get them to stay here. Let's spread that tax burden between a larger group of people, keep the taxes low, and make sure that the people are heard. Is that close to 2 minutes?
No, you're not even close.
Other jobs of the town council, obviously to oversee the departments, to redress grievances of the citizens of the departments. Job of the town council is be the point of contact, I guess, for decisions made in the town.
Okay. Tom, same question. What is the role of a host town council?
I view the role as a town councilor as someone that is available for the town manager to reach out to as a body to get directions from and to get advice on how situations want to be handled that he deems necessary. The town councilor is not one who sticks their nose in issues or places within the town government. It's what we pay our town manager $87,000 a year for. It's what we have department heads for. They're paid professionals. We have some very competent people. What we're there for is to guide, set up goals and objectives for the town manager so he can conduct his day-to-day business.
Okay, Clark, same question.
Excuse me, the town councilors obviously are voted in by the people of the town. You're the voice of the constituents, you're the voice of the citizens, and the role as a town councilor is to cooperate. It's a form of government, you're part of the government. You're there to make sure that the government runs in an orderly fashion, to hear what the people have to say, what their concerns are, to look to the future, to see where the town is going. When you get elected to a position like that, the people are putting their trust in you that you're going to make proper decisions. I think common sense is one of the... Sorry, I didn't pay attention. Common sense is one of the things that needs to be brought forward as a town councilor. And you need to listen to the people, what their desires are, what they would like to see move in the direction that they want to go in. A lot of hard decisions have to be made, I'm sure. Some may be popular, some may be unpopular. But you're entrusted with what the people want you to do. And they put their trust in you, they put their faith in you, and they expect a service from the town council and a town councilor. There's many different directions that one can go in, but the biggest one that I see, one of the things that you need to be able to do is to hear what the people want done. Hear what their voice, you're the voice of the people. You're the voice in particular, some of the councilors are in districts, others are at large. So it's a balance, and there's a reason why we have at large along with, I'm sorry?
You're at 2 minutes.
At 2 minutes. Okay.
Thank you. Just a follow-up here. I'll give you 15 seconds. What's the single most important responsibility? Start with you, Adam.
Of the town council?
Counselor.
Of a town councilor. There's a lot of issues. I think the best issue, or the most important, is taxes and keeping businesses here.
Tom?
The most important thing, or the purpose, is to be available to the people, period. You're the representative.
Clark?
Integrity. To me, that's the most important. Once the people know that you have integrity, or they expect integrity within their town councilor, then they have that faith and they can move forward. And
Thank you. That's 15 seconds. There is an imminent and very significant issue with long-term ramifications for the town of Hooksett scheduled for a vote at your next council meeting. The majority of public opinion and constituent feedback is trending in a direction that you strongly disagree with, and further, believe your reasons are very valid. How do you proceed? Who started the last one? Adam? Tom?
If there's a situation that the residents of the town are opposed to, in that given situation, I will follow through and represent them. It's not Tom Keach's council, it's the people's council, and I'm there to perform a duty for them. Thank you.
Clark? Want me to read the question again?
Please.
There is an imminent and very significant issue with long-term ramifications for the town of Hooksett scheduled for a vote at your very next council meeting. The majority of public opinion and constituent feedback is trending in a direction that you strongly disagree with, and further, believe your reasons for that position are very valid. How do you proceed?
First and foremost is dialogue. You have a conversation, you have arguments, or not arguments, but you present your argument as to why you're thinking in the opposite direction of the constituents. But it's also education as well. And I believe that through education, whether it's for or against your personal opinion, I think goes a long ways when you're dealing with constituents. Ultimately, like I said, choices have to be made. And I believe that once trust is made in your position, in you as a counselor, I think that opinions will go in a direction that would bring the most common sense. And to me, common sense is a biggie.
Okay, thank you. Adam?
I think until that next meeting, you would have your work cut out for you. You need to reach out to those constituents and find out why they're trending in the opposite direction that you want. Have an honest sit-down discussion and figure out maybe your position really is wrong, or maybe the constituents are in the wrong direction. And that's when the education comes into play. Use that week to your advantage to try to either sway the public opinion or be swayed yourself. Don't do your homework, basically. And then if it comes down to it, the voters put their trust into you to make the right decision when it comes to the end of the day.
Thank you. That's a pretty tough question. I think the answers were pretty good ones from all three. Next question, and we're starting with, I'm losing track here. Clark?
Time to start.
Yeah. Somebody keep me on track. Kathy, you want to take this one?
Let me hear the question first.
What criteria will you use to evaluate appointments to town committees and commissions?
Obviously, backgrounds. I think it's, when you look at the spectrum, it's good to have different people with different backgrounds making up an appointment or a board or a commission or otherwise. So to me, if you look at all the different backgrounds of people, you take that into play as a decision. If you're going to appoint somebody that has to do with, let's say, the building trade, I don't think it would be wise, it would be common sense to have somebody that knows about that trade, knows the ins and outs, as opposed to putting somebody in strictly for a political reason.
Okay. Adam, same question to you. What criteria will you use to evaluate appointments to town committees and commissions?
The criteria depends on the position. Some positions require an in-depth knowledge of the field for the position. Other positions require willingness to learn. As long as somebody is willing to put in the time and effort, do their homework, understand the board or committee they're on, before they're even on the board or committee, attend meetings, show their willingness to be a part of the board, even just by being in the audience. That goes a long way to making them in the right position, the right person for the right position.
Tom?
For someone to be appointed to a board, they have to have the desire to do that job from the heart. It's probably the start, the most important thing. Assessing skills and abilities of that individual to perform the job, and their overall effectiveness of having sat in other volunteer, political, non-political positions in the community before makes up their character.
Thank you. You guys are making it easy for the clock. Next question, and we're starting with Ed, right?
Yes, sir.
Council works diligently along with the municipal staff to prepare and finalize a municipal budget. It is then submitted to the budget committee. So the council finally reviews with the budget committee and agrees to any changes or disagrees, as the case may be. What happens next? And when is your work complete?
Work isn't complete until after Election Day. Obviously, there's the deliberative session after it comes back and to be approved. And education throughout the whole time, trying to figure out, for instance, why we've been voting default budgets. People are afraid of tax increases. If we have a tax increase, we need to show them why or listen to the voters. Either way, education goes a long way. And it's not until the polls close and the election is complete that the budget is complete.
Thank you. Tom? Want me to read it again?
Yes, if you would, please.
I won't read it, I'll just summarize it.
So,
Council works with the municipal staff to prepare, finalize a budget, gives it to the budget committee, then the council then sits down with the budget committee, and there's agreement on what goes forward. What happens next? And when is your work complete?
your work as a counselor is never completed. It's a continuous evolving process. If you want to say that when the budget for the previous year has ended and recapped of all expenditures, then you move on to the next budget. It's a continuing, evolving process. It's almost its own entity.
Okay. Mark?
I would have to say I would disagree with some of the things that have been said, but I would say that once it comes and you've had your discussion and you've come up with a finalized budget, then it goes to deliberative and then it goes to the voters. I think at that point in time, once the voters have decided what they want to do, that's what's going to be done. And at that point, the job as the town councilor for the budget process, I believe, is over. For that particular budget.
Okay. Last question in this round, and it goes to Tom, right? What goals have you set? Well, assuming each of the three of you really want this job, what goals have you set? And what objectives do you hope to achieve if you're elected town councilor?
My goals are to represent the people in Hooksett. And for my objectives is to access my experience, my knowledge, and my abilities and apply them. And also to solicit from the community itself people that can provide certain skills and abilities to help achieve the completion of the cycle of the job.
Thank you. Barbara?
Could you read it again, just to
Sure.
refresh something for me?
What goals have you set, and what objectives do you hope to achieve if you're elected town councilor?
The goals that I've set for myself is to maintain my commitment, tenacity, and to bring some common sense, not that there's, don't misunderstand me, I kind of put that out there a little bit too quick, to maintain common sense. Obviously, in a one-year term, it's definitely not going to be a bull in a china closet attitude, but to bring a sense of cooperation and common sense and hear what from the constituents need to be done. It's a process, it's a government process that the people are entrusting you to do, and follow that process. And you can have arguments about it, you can have disagreements, but in the end of the day, hopefully you come to a resolution which is what's good for the people. You know, I hate to use a cliche, common sense for the common good, but to me that resonates in the position that I would be seeking for the one-year term.
Thank you. Adam?
Goals for the next year: be the voice of the voter, make sure the constituents are heard, work on the Lilac Bridge. I know that there's currently in the process to get some of that done, especially with Main Street Bridge closing next year. That's going to be an important event. Also, continue to work with businesses, and if we get the town engineer, make it easier to grow, look for the future of Hooksett. Keep Hooksett a great place to raise family. That's the reason we moved here. So anything that can be done to make sure that Hooksett stays a great place.
Thank you. I have no more questions for round one. Good job. We finished that far sooner than I thought we would. I failed to point something out. I'm not here in an official capacity tonight as moderator. I'm here not representing the town, I'm just asking the questions. Mary and Heather continue to be bulldogs and strong-arm me into doing it. And I really enjoy doing it. It's an intriguing process, and we're getting better at it. All right, next round. We're going to take this until sometime around 7:45, 7:50, and then we'll have some fun with the last two questions. This round, 1 minute, and I'm just going to bing, bing, bing. Each of you are going to get a different question, and I'm not even sure I'm going to start. I may start in the same place each time, unless somebody wants to keep me on track. We ended with Adam, so we'll start with Tom. What single unique talent or skill will you use to successfully deal with the wide range of issues, actions, challenges, and decisions that you will face as a council?
I will listen to the people. That's it. That's my
Okay.
skill.
Mark?
A fresh set of eyes. The experience that I've had for 3 years prior, I can bring to the commission, to the council. And it's not just listening, it's also thinking outside the box sometimes. It's also having to make tough decisions when you have to make tough decisions. But I think I can bring a unique and different perspective as a town councilor than perhaps what we've had in the past.
Okay. Adam?
Could you reread the question?
No.
Oh, you can't? Okay.
What single unique talent or skill will you use to successfully deal with the wide range of issues, actions, challenges, and decisions that you will face as a council?
Research, research, research. Do your homework, or do my homework, understand the issue from all sides, be the voice of the voter, talk to the constituents, find out those hot button issues, find out why they feel a certain way, and continue to research on my own to make sure that the best hooks it going forward.
You know what? I just asked the same question. All three.
Yeah, it's fine, you know, we're not gonna long, if you wanna do that, do that time.
No, I don't want to do that.
All right.
Sorry, guys. Somebody's got to keep me on track of it.
I went to talk to the Cub Scouts.
Okay, we started with you. You got the first one? Clark. And this time, one question, one person. Recognizing that the town departments, commissions, and committees must function together like a football team to be effective and efficient, how will you foster cooperation among the team members to make the team successful?
Lead by example. Have encouraging and lively debate, allowing the opportunity for everybody to express their opinions, and trying to maintain a cohesiveness amongst the team that you're talking about. Not to say that there's going to be disagreements, not to say that we're going to have different opinions, but ultimately, by leading by example, whether it's through cooperation, conceding on certain issues, admitting when you're wrong about things, having a different perspective, understanding what the argument that's being brought forth before you is, and explaining that, and having that cooperation, to me, is what I would bring.
Thank you. Adam, what process will you use, pardon me, what process will you use to evaluate the effective allocation of town financial resources? In other words, the town budget.
We have a budget committee for a reason. They do a whole lot of homework on their own to find out what the issues are, use them as a tool, use communication with the department heads as a tool, and use their session where they come in front of the town council as a third tool, and combine that together to find out what is the best budget for that department that does not harm our taxpayers.
Okay, follow on. Lucky you.
Right?
Assuming you end up with a budget, and it's, the budget committee and the council have agreed, how will you communicate that to your constituents? 15 seconds.
Infographics, education, postings on town websites, deliberative session, education, communication, social media even.
Tom, when, in your opinion, are non-public sessions appropriate?
Public sessions are appropriate when they meet the statute for use. If one's had the opportunity to read through the statute, it's laid out pretty clear when you can do it and when you can't. So you follow that as a guideline.
Okay, follow on for you. What's your response when, in your opinion, the non-public session that's being requested doesn't fit the criteria?
As a member of the board, I'm assuming we're going to follow certain parliamentary rules and utilize Robert's Rules of Order generally. and you bring an objection or a point of order to the chairman of the council, and you voice that objection, and you explain your position and why.
Clark, what laws, rules, and procedures govern the council?
Do you want the RSAs? Are you asking for the RSAs?
I'm not, I'm,
It's
the
governed.
question any way you want.
Okay. I mean, it's governed, I don't have them in my pocket, obviously, but it's governed by state law, town charter, and the like. So the way that the town council meetings are run, when they have to be run, what boards go in front, I mean, that's all, that's not something that I have directly in front of me, but it's laid out for us either through, like I said, the town charter, state laws, the requirements of how to conduct a meeting, when to conduct a meeting, when to have a meeting, so.
I apologize for the noise.
I do that thing, I'm focused.
Thank you, Clark. I'm going to ask that same question to our council chairman, Jim. What are the laws, rules, and procedures for the council, to govern the council?
We follow the charter, and the charter prescribes, the council sets up their own orders and procedures which we follow. We have a personnel plan, we have administration codes.
Okay. That was unfair.
It wasn't if I didn't give the right answer, it would have been fine if I
You
gave
got it
the right
right.
answer.
Where are we at? Clark dealt with that, so it's on you, Adam. This is a tough one.
All right.
How do you proceed when the council votes to support an issue by 5 to 4, and you're one of the 4?
Continue education. Try to understand why the 5 voted in favor when the 4 voted against. Try to figure out if there was some nuance of the order or the process that maybe the 4 negatives could have gotten on board with. Try to form a consensus to provide a unified front for the town. Don't be afraid to voice your opposition. I mean, even the Supreme Court, they do the same thing. So don't be afraid to speak out about it, but make sure you still back the council, because the council did decide on that.
Okay. Tom, define the criteria you would use to evaluate candidates for a town administrator vacancy, should that occur during your term. And any thoughts you might have on what process to use as well.
The process I would utilize is using the board itself to review the prospective candidates. And additionally, the local government center, you can hire to go out and do a search for you and bring forth qualified individuals to perform the job. Overall and generally, I would look for experience, previous successes that these managers have had, whether it be in-state or out-of-state.
Okay. Suggestion for all of you. I don't count. Those people count. We're up to Clark, right? Local boards and committees may sometimes conduct meetings and make inappropriate decisions, or generally fail to follow proper procedure. And the comment is, oh well, we're just volunteers. Maybe cited as a reason for doing that. How do you respond to that comment?
Unacceptable. when you take on the responsibility of being appointed to a board, you also take on the things that go with it. And that's being a rule follower. Two, I think and if I understood your question correctly, are you talking about illegal meetings that they're having? That's why
I wouldn't go that far, just the conduct of the meeting and, you know, nothing illegal going on, just.
So it's a legal
Just
meeting, it's
inappropriate.
just inappropriate as to their behavior during a meeting?
Inappropriately reaching decisions, anything that doesn't conform to a prescribed way of running the meeting.
Well, first, they need to be spoken to and educated about the proper way to do it. If that continues, that type of behavior continues, then I think the council has to deal with that as a whole. But I think, you know, most people are good intended. They volunteer their time. Not everybody's an expert. People learn. People gain experience through volunteerism. I believe in volunteerism. So mistakes can be made, but it should not be tolerated for the long run or numerous times.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to have questions from the floor.
Maybe? Where are we at? Yeah.
What was
Can
the
you-
answer? Maybe.
Maybe. Can you give us an example of something you've done differently in a previous job or a volunteer situation that has been very successful? And what caused you to take this action?
I was working at a clinic on Fort Bragg when I was in the Army, part-time there, part-time as an instructor. And when I was there, I noticed patients were falling through the cracks. It wasn't one of the big clinics on base. It was just for the Special Forces candidates. And we were hand tracking patients and patient trends, and it just wasn't enough to get the best out of the soldiers and to provide for them the best way. So I said, in my spare time, I'm going to create a database system, set up a computer for them. When the patient came in, they listed their main symptom. We were able to track trends by phase of training, where they were, what month of the year. For environmental kind of injuries, we caught a lot of life-altering injuries before they became apparent because of that.
Thank you. Tom, what are the successful elements for an efficient and effective town council? In other words, what ingredients make a group successful?
Your group cohesiveness, the body itself has to have the ability to work one-on-one with everyone within that group. They have to be willing to work with outside stakeholders and the town, outside of the town, and I think that's it.
Okay. Clark, what single quality do you admire in other people?
Integrity. You asked for a single.
And you gave it to me. No. I'm going to reverse here because Adam, Hooksett Town Charter, two-part question. Are there changes you anticipate suggesting be made, and if so, what are they? And what process do you consider appropriate to develop future changes to the charter?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, so that's part one. Part two, if there were to be something found that we needed to change, We talk with legal counsel, we talk to municipal association. We would work to reword a section in the correct manner, correct legalese, and make sure that we get public input into any changes that are going to affect the lives of citizens in Hooksett.
Thank you. Where did I start this whole thing, this round? With you, Clark?
Yes, I believe so. You can start with me again unless it's a hard question.
You know, I'm trying to sequence to the end here. Okay, I'm gonna change it. Tom, it's up to you. What are your thoughts regarding mandatory recycling?
I believe that the mandatory recycling program should be enacted in this town, and it has an overall benefit in the short and the long term, and it will save funds and help with the tax rate.
Okay, I'm gonna call that the end of round 2. And I've now got 3 questions for round 3, if you don't mind. And I think we have time, and I think we will have time for audience questions. First question, we'll start with you, Adam. And each of you are going to answer the same question. We'll keep it at 1 minute for this one and one other. How will you assess risk, financial or operational, associated with town decisions, operations, and expenditures?
Assess risk by talking to the department heads if it's their issue, understanding what their feelings are, what their core understanding is of the issue at hand, make sure to become educated about the issue before it's too late.
Okay, Tom, same question. How will you assess risk, financial or operational, associated with town decisions, operations, and expenditures?
You perform a risk analysis to see if the issue at hand or your objective or goal to achieve is practical or probable, if there's a cost involved, and if it's something that's of reason to conduct.
Okay. Clark, same question.
I think a lot of things involve risk. You have to look at each individual situation. And it's interesting we talk about risk at this point. When we look at the town's insurance costs and how they've gone up, there's reasons for that. So when you have to look at the situation, each situation is different, but this is there's some hard facts that come into play that you can't change, and then there's others that involve common sense that would lead you to believe in a different direction. But each case is different, each situation is different, so you need to have a discussion with the council, you need to have a discussion with the town attorneys if it involves money. You need to have some discussions with, if it's allowed by law and it's not a personnel matter, to constituents and hear what they have to say. But collectively as a group,
10 seconds.
Collectively as a group, you make intelligent, hopefully intelligent decisions and move forward from there. There's risk in everything we do. Every decision you make, there's going to be somebody in favor and somebody against.
Okay, next question. Is it time for Hooksett to have a public access cable television channel to display and or record all public meetings? Yes or no, and why? Starting with Tom.
Currently, public access channel is not a feasible situation to conduct nationally. The trend has been going down of usage or application. As much as the service as it potentially can provide, it is great. Also, spoken with Comcast representative, Mr. Hyde, who's on the budget committee, and he concurred specifically within his company that there's a downward trend of using that. And also, it's not free. It costs ratepayers to provide that service.
Okay. Clark, same question.
I don't know the particulars about the cost involved, but I'm an advocate of transparency. So not everybody can come to these meetings. A lot of people don't have interest in them, but there's a great number that do. And whether it's done through the internet via this recording here, or it's done through an access channel, I think transparency is paramount. It allows people, for whatever reason, that they can't make a meeting, or they may not be interested in this particular meeting, but they might be interested in another. So I think being open is a good thing. It shows that you have transparency and you're not afraid to have meetings broadcasted. What the cost factors are, I don't know.
10 seconds.
And I don't know where the fees are going for the cables. Companies that come through the town of Hooksett, but I'm sure that can be looked into. And I wouldn't rely on a company that's providing the service for their particular opinion, because they have a dog in the fight, I guess. So. But I'm in favor of transparency is the utmost in my mind.
Thank you. Adam?
I believe citizens should have access to their public officials. There should be transparency in government. However, in this day and age with the technology, I don't know that a public access channel would be financially viable. The meetings are recorded right now and they're posted online. Maybe if that could be streamlined, make a better portal for a website that is dedicated to just the video, a page on the website. Use technology to our advantage, and let's stay in the 21st century. I watch C-SPAN, so I know that there are people that do, but why go back and recreate that now when we have the technology today?
Okay. Last question, and perhaps the one that may be most meaningful. 2 regular meetings a month, numerous subcommittee meetings, nearly a continuous budgeting process, 2 official town meetings, hundreds of votes per year, many decisions required where the choice is the best of unattractive alternatives, financial constraints everywhere, some not created by your decisions, and vocal constituents who expect you to resolve their specific problem. Why in the world would you want to become town councilor?
Who's up?
Tom. I think.
Yeah.
Adam, you had the last answer?
I think so.
Yeah. 1 minute, or 2 minutes, take 2 minutes if you need.
Thank you. I want to use my knowledge, my experience that I've gained throughout life, and use that to interact with the people that I know of this town. I think I'm well-rounded to perform the job. And I'm probably the best qualified to do it.
Thank you. You didn't even use a minute. Clark, you gonna make me read this thing again?
Absolutely not.
Good.
You're getting me depressed. You know, in light of the doom and gloom that you just phrased the question with all the negativity about it, and I'm not blaming you, I'm just, the question itself sounded, well, why would anybody want to do it? I get that. But there's some positive things to it. There's, you know, after having been in civil service, and I see the positive side, I've seen a lot of negative, but when you do something positive, not just for yourself, but you give to somebody else, to me it makes you a little more whole. It allows you to help somebody else, help your neighbors, and the people in the town that you live in. If we look at all the negative things and how difficult things are, I guess we probably wouldn't do it. But I like to be an optimist, and I like to think that the glass is half full instead of half empty. So no disrespect or, to the question in any way, but there's more positive, I think, than there is negative when it comes to civil service and being a volunteer.
Well, let's put a positive spin on a negative question.
Thank you.
Adam, you want me to read it again?
Nope, I'm good.
You've been through it. Why would you want to do this again?
When I joined the military, I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. And I took that very personally. And so when I want to come to a community, I want to give back to that community. God willing, I'll spend the next 40, 50 years here. I want to raise my family here. I want this to continue to be a great town for children and for families. Last year, CNN rated Hooksett one of the best 50 small places to live, and I want to keep that. I want people to have a voice. I want government to be transparent. And I want to continue the success and growth of Hooksett.
Thank you. We have as much time as anybody wants to take, really. I do have one question, and I'm going to get in before we're done, but I'll turn it over to you guys now. Mary.
I'd like to go back to public access for a minute. 2 out of the 3 of you seemed inclined not to have public access. Currently, the town of Hooksett has roughly in the neighborhood of $100,000 to $140,000 that is collected from Comcast customers that goes into the general fund. This is patently not fair. So if those of you who do not want public access, what is your position on getting rid of the franchise fees as you're not using the money for the purpose that it's intended?
I'll take it first. Thank you for the education on that. If we're taking money from a business that we don't need to take it from, then...
No, from the taxpayers.
From the user.
Subscribers.
Oh.
Oh, it's even worse than that.
That's even worse. Yeah, then definitely.
I think we're paying about 3%, and what's happening right now is that it's going into the general fund. Had we not had a default budget last year, we probably would have had the beginnings of a bare bones public access, but we did have a default budget, so no one brought the public access up. So that money is still being collected from those of us who have Comcast every month. Would you support, if you do not support public access TV, would you support getting rid of the franchise fee and allowing those of us who have Comcast to keep our 3%?
Yes, keep your money or create the channel. Don't sit on the fence, one or the other.
Who was the other? Tom? Any additional comment?
Yes, I agree to give the money back to the ratepayers. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this meeting's going to be televised on YouTube, minus, I guess, a few operational costs for the library staff to put it there. That's creative thinking. That's why, 3 years ago, I was on the fence on the budget committee about a library. And they impressed me and have done leaps and bounds beyond what I ever imagined this library to be. So that's the type of things that you need to enable you to redefine or remake your public access.
And we have it on tape this time.
Can I just clarify, it sounds like we have the right expertise in the room. There's 100 to 140,000 sitting somewhere.
No, it goes.
No, it's in the
into
general
general
fund.
Where's Mark?
It goes to the general fund. The subscribers pay for it, 3% out of their fee every
Yeah.
month, and it goes
Yeah, I
into
know,
the
I
general
pay.
fund. I was on the cable committee to decide what to do with that. The new contract was just signed for another 10 years to continue that 3%.
Okay.
It's up to the town council's impact to what to do with that 3%.
What
There's
happens
been-
if they don't do anything with it?
They can
you
lo-
spend it up, can the council spend it up, since it's in the general fund?
Yes, and that's what they've been doing for
So
the
it's
last
not
10
a
years.
trust- It's not enough.
No.
It's not a protected fund.
I wish it was, yeah.
Correct.
So it's up to the town council, and they've had those discussions to take some of that money and do other things with it, or put something aside for cable, or additional videotaping in, for instance, the library.
I hear
That
you.
kind of thing.
I'm glad I came tonight, I learned something.
Don,
Anybody else want to ask a question first time? Mike?
that's just a follow-up on the cable thing.
Okay.
I believe that the cable representative said that if the town council could vote to discontinue that franchise fee during the course of this agreement, is that right?
At any time, they can reduce it. They
can't-
can't increase it
Right.
during the contract, but they could reduce it by 1%, 2%.
Or eliminate it?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you read the cable contract, it alludes to the fact that that is kind of intended for cable access, but it does not require it by the contract. So there is no, you cannot press the issue that it has to be spent on that, but if you research it, that was the intention of that franchise fee.
So, Mr. Moderator, just for another, if we're talking about cable here, there's currently in the proposed budget for this week's election to have $17,000 set aside for new videotaping equipment, either for the library or for the town council, police department. There's $17,000 of that 3% earmarked for new equipment.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, you posed the question on mandatory recycling. Only one of the candidates had an opportunity to comment on that, and I'd like to hear the other two.
Do you remember which one commented?
It was on, yes, it was Mr. Keach. He had the
Okay.
opportunity to opine on it.
Thanks for bringing that up, by the way, because I did want to comment on it, but I respected the rules and the forum that we have. I don't know why anybody would be against single stream recycling. I particularly are in favor of it. I would like to have 2 more containers so I can continue to recycle. And matter of fact, as a reminder, I may be making that phone call so I can. To me, it's a win-win for the town of Hooksett. The town of Hooksett makes money. We're not filling our landfills if the stuff is recycled. It doesn't cost, it's my understanding that it doesn't cost us the way it does for filling a landfill or filling an 18-wheeler and bringing it to a dump somewhere else and have tipping fees. So I'm in favor of that.
Mr. Moderator, the question though is, or the controversy is, should we mandate and potentially police and fine citizens?
The question was, what are your thoughts regarding mandatory?
Right.
Right, but the issue is really one of policing and mandating.
That wasn't the question.
Maybe we can do that as a
Question was-
follow-up.
What are your thoughts on mandatory recycling? Very broad.
And my question then, Mr. Moderator,
Well,
is
let
more
Adam
specific
respond first.
in that
Then you'll get a follow-on.
my neighbors have opined that they don't want to be policed and fined if they put a tuna can in the trash can inadvertently. And therein lies the controversy
Okay. That's
of
a different
this.
question. It's
Can
really
I follow up on this follow-up?
Wait a minute. Let Adam respond to the question, and then you can ask that.
You asked a question about mandatory, did you
What are your
not?
thoughts about mandatory recycling?
And what's mandatory implies there is a penalty.
Okay, Well,
Well,
no, it doesn't at all. I think it's a very valid point, Mike. Let Adam respond to the question, and then you can have a follow-up.
I'm fine if they answer it.
I'm worried about the cost associated with mandatory recycling. Are we going to spend more man hours policing, being the trash police, than we're going to get even if we find somebody thousands of dollars? So when we take a load to a landfill, it's $65. When we single stream recycle, it's $10. We pay $10. A difference of $55. Well, the $10 fluctuates throughout the year depending on supply and demand at the recycling center. But it's a difference of $55. The proposed fine before was a $50 fine, which means somebody would have to dump a ton of recycles into their trash receptacle to make it worth it. Where I do find that we would find common ground with everybody is at the recycling center. That's town property. If somebody is littering by putting recycles in the trash, we need to make sure that won't happen again. The superintendent had previously alluded to between 50 and 100 customers within the town are not recycling. But she also says that after every education campaign, recycling goes up. So I think we need to continue to beat the education. People just don't understand what you can and can't recycle. And if we continue to educate people, I think we can avoid creating another penalty, another tax on the taxpayers.
Mike, you want to?
No, that addressed the question I had in terms of the enforcement of a mandatory program. I mean, we've had a voluntary program in that there is no penalty associated with not doing it. And I appreciate your addressing that. Tom already did address the mandatory. I think your comment did imply that you would enforce it in some way, shape, or form.
Yes. Doesn't mean that dump police will be out at your house.
Go ahead.
Well, how do you enforce, if I might, Mr. Moderator, how would you enforce it if you don't have what I said? You use the term dump police. I mean, who else is going to enforce it?
It would end up being a town code, just as the parks close at 9 at night. It would be imposed that way. Yeah. I would be very interested to see nationally what other municipalities do for mandatory recycling. How do they control? Because there's always going to be an indie group, there's dissenters, and that don't want to participate in the process. I'm open to being reasonable about how you would regulate this. Like you said, yeah, if a tuna can gets missed and gets thrown away by mistake, people should be penalized. It's a common sense approach that you got to use for a lot of things.
Clark?
Are you requiring comment? Because I think I'm pretty good with this, because it sounds like the two separate issues to me. One is the mandatory recycling, and two, it's bifurcated into the enforcement. So.
One more question, then I want to throw another issue on the table, and then if you want to stick around, we'll have another one. Who wants to go? Who's got a pressing issue? 1, 2, 3.
Joanne looks like she's.
I don't know if mine is a pressing issue, but I'll tell you my observation, and I wonder as a town council or whoever it might be, when you're driving through Hooksett, there are a number of unsightly properties. They've either got junk or whatever, and I just wonder, as a town councilor, how would you approach that to have someone in this town clean up? It gives us a bad name, and I just ask that what your ideas would be.
Who wants to start? Go ahead, Clark.
First, we'd have to find out who's responsible. First, is it in violation of any of the town ordinances? If it is, what department is responsible for enforcing that particular ordinance. Whether it's the building department, whether it's the highway, I don't know at this point, but I think there'd be a process and steps to go through to make sure that it gets taken care of. And, you know, being a town councilor is not going to be, and you get a constituent like yourself that says, listen, my neighbor's got junk cars all over the place. What can you do about it? Well, we have to find out as a council who's responsible, what's the town ordinance, how many junk cars can you have on your property, and go through the proper department to enforce that particular ordinance. That's how I would handle it.
Adam?
Start with the ordinances and start by talking to the homeowner. If they own the property, find out what we can do to assist them. As an elderly person, are they able to still continue their junk business or whatever it is? Is there a way we can assist them without penalizing them or another taxpayer? Maybe there's a reason that those things are there. Let's open the discussion and find out what we can about the particular property.
Tom?
Use your personnel that you have in the town. You have a town manager, I've said before, and I think sometimes we lose sight of that. He's paid to perform a job. As the council, you can direct him or her to look into the issues to make corrections. And you additionally can look at options to entice people to do things. It could be maybe that financially they're strapped and they just can't take care of their property. There may be some alternatives that the town can actually help them.
One more. David has not spoken.
Oh, come on. Finally. On the ballot will be the engineer position. I've heard both sides of this. From one side, if we keep the current system of using a company of engineers, we have a whole range of engineers that we could pick from based on a particular project that we have and a wealth of knowledge. The other side, by hiring somebody, there seems to be some cost savings, but we are also bringing another person on the payroll, and we may be more limited as that person may not have a wide range of engineering. Where do each of you stand on that issue?
Start with Adam.
I actually voted against it when it came from the town council. However, I have done further education. I've talked to other town councilors. I've talked to other people in the community. It would be a tax savings. The fees the average fees we're paying this, or the developers are paying to Stantec, would more than pay for a town engineer. Plus, is to the part about the multitude of engineers at one rate. You get a general civil engineer, and if we need to hire out those specific ones, there are ways we can either pass that cost to the developer or charge a rate that when we do need to hire out, we're still not going to impact the taxpayer.
Tom?
We fought this issue for well over 10 to 15 years. If I go back to different department heads, they wanted one, they didn't want one. I think that it is something that should be passed on to the developer or the owner of those properties, and that just because you hire someone at $50,000, don't forget it's another 45% added on to that amount. It's for benefits, retirement, and insurance. It's extremely, extremely expensive to hire people as opposed to outsourcing.
Laura?
According to the warrant article, it's $91,884 with benefits, salary and benefits. I remember years ago when we had inspectors. When you were building a house, you had an inspector was supposed to come out and do their job. And I personally had numerous times experiences where that didn't happen, it was a rubber stamp. I don't, at this point, without having really researched it, but just on face value, I would have to say that if a developer wants to come in and develop some acreage, they can certainly pay for the engineering for that. I don't know that it'd be good at this point. I haven't heard the arguments on both sides, but on the surface, I would say I don't think we need to have another staff on hand. But that's not to say that once I'm a little bit more informed that I wouldn't see it the other way. But at the risk of shooting from the hip at this point, I would say that why is it that we would want to put another employee or town engineer on? Is it to benefit the taxpayers, or is it to benefit contractors and developers that want to come in to Hooksett? So there's also that balancing act. Do we want to attract more housing, have more housing development or commercial property, or do we want to put a hold on that? So it's I'm kind of at a loss because I don't have all the information, but on face value at this point, without having that information, I would have to say no, because to me at this point in time, with the information I have, that would be the prudent thing to do and the common sense thing to do without having the information on the other side.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mark. First of all, thank you for doing what you're doing with that camera back.
Sure.
It's actually David.
Oops. That's actually, it's David's
Mark
camera.
is taking over, but I
David's
wanted to make a
standing
public
up there.
thank you to David for bringing his equipment, and David will be sharing the video with us. We've had a wonderful collaborative relationship over the past years, but particularly the last two candidates. We've been working really well, and I appreciate David doing this so I don't have to figure out how to use it first.
Last question.
And Mark,
Thank you, thank you. I think this is a pertinent question because we heard a lot of situational things tonight, resume kind of stuff. I actually want to ask these counselors if they have any ideas why they're running for office, if they're going to, what kind of ideas are they going to bring to council? Because it's not just going to council and listening to what's been brought to them. What ideas would they want to put on the agenda, especially based on the fact that there might be a potential default budget again? If you could address those two issues. Thank you.
Adam went first on that one. Go ahead, Tom.
What I'm going to bring to the table is my approach, my experiences, and it's pretty straightforward. And I don't have specific goals other than to represent the people. I don't have an agenda. I don't have a hidden reason that I want to be on the council. I just want to give back.
Thank you. Mark?
My prior experience as a police commission, on the police commission, involved budgetary process. I peeled off a lot of layers of that onion. I uncovered a lot of, I found 2 cars that were being hidden out of town for 2 years. Found 200 tires, that there was just a tremendous amount of waste, redundancy, in my opinion. So I was able to peel back the layers, and I'm not afraid to do that. I think I have the aptitude to do that. I think I have the experience to do that. That's not to say that everything I do is going to be under investigation. But what I think is paramount is the public safety issue that we have here in Hooksett. Now, on the surface, people may not think that there's a problem, but I know better. I have the experience and I have the information. I've always felt, and I've always said it publicly, that we should have a dedicated West Side car. In my opinion, we should have 3 patrol officers on the street as well as a single supervisor for that shift. The issues that we have, I mean, people know, they may not know, we have an epidemic, a heroin epidemic, illegal drugs. That leads to an abundance of crime, from armed robberies to burglaries to thefts to shoplifting, and just goes down the line. And what I feel is paramount is public safety. We're going to have issues with the closing of the bridge. We're going to have issues with the Route 3 corridor as well as 3A. But we need to make Hooksett a place that's safer than it is. I'm not raising the red flag, I'm just saying the fact of the matter is that we need to assist the police department to make sure that they have the tools to do what they need to get done. And what those tools are, at this point, we could go into a long debate about it, but there's things here that, in my opinion, need to be done, and I think that I have shown in the past in my service as the police commission, whether you agreed with me or disagreed with me in my actions on the commission. There's a lot of things that were grabbed by the horn and dealt with. A lot of things could not be made public because of state law that prohibited that, but I still maintained a steady keel. So I think that there's other issues that I could bring to the town council, not just listening, but also giving experience and opinions and facts. So there's a whole spectrum there, but for me, paramount is the public safety issue that I think a lot of people don't realize are out there.
Thank you. Adam?
I want to work to continue to engage people in the discussion, get more people involved in community development, community politics, voting days, continue the revitalization of downtown, continue to get on Leo, the Director of Department Works, about restoring the Lilac Bridge. Right now we're trying to get some impact fees for that. Continue to develop this sense of community that we already have in Hooksett, and just make sure more people are involved. The last time the master plan was done, more people started getting involved, and that's kind of tapered away. Let's get those people back. Let's get more voices at the table. Any way that we can do that, education, outreach, and continue the revitalization projects. That encourages people, hey, there's something going on that I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of Hooksett.
Thank you. I don't know about you, but I am glad I was asking the questions and not trying to answer the questions. I think these guys did a fine job. And there were some good questions that came out of the audience too. So I would just encourage the library and Mary to keep on doing these things. And hopefully we can get more interest. Thanks, Tom. Good job.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for all coming.